Thanks, Scott. It was a great coffee. I'll tell you about it later. Okay. Just a quick thank you to the organizers at 15 Seconds. It's incredible to be here. It's been a great couple of days. I'm going to take you deep into the world of fashion and technology. But first, let me tell you about where we are, what we do. I work at London College of Fashion, and we have just the most incredible network of business units that are connecting the world of fashion with technology, from business accelerators and technology accelerators like Front Row, which are pushing out incredible businesses, to the Center for Fashion Enterprise, which incubates high-end fashion designers. But this year, we will be incubating high-end fashion designers alongside technology companies, to the Digital Anthropology Lab, a research center which is exploring where technology interacts with the body, and the Worth Project, which is a European-funded project. I'm not sure how much longer we're going to be able to do European-funded projects. To the Fashion Innovation Agency, which is my area. When I go and talk to fashion designers and brands about using technology, I always start with this quote. There's a great deal of talk in the fashion industry about how fast-paced everything moves. But actually, the industry is incredibly cyclical. You see trends and techniques coming back into fashion, going out of fashion, coming back into fashion. But there is enormous pressure to deliver something new every season. So by engaging with the technology industry, the fashion industry can actually create something new at a much faster pace than it has done to date. So where is the fashion industry today? The fashion industry today is in crisis. It doesn't know what it is, and it doesn't know how to deliver. The phrase "see now, buy now" has become the most talked about subject in the fashion industry. When Burberry announced in February that they were dropping their menswear show and would make their collections available straight from the runway, so the clothes that you saw on the catwalk would be in store that afternoon, the fashion world fainted. See now, buy now sounds a little bit like retail to me. And I don't think that the fashion industry is in crisis. I think it's simply resetting a business model that was well out of date. But what's great about this sense of uncertainty is that it is creating opportunity. And the opportunity for designers and brands to actually think about what it is that they're doing, why do they show at London Fashion Week, how do they communicate to a consumer, and the opportunity for technology to play a part in that is really exciting. So my role at the Fashion Innovation Agency is to help designers use technology to change the way that they are making their collections. So we specialize in smart materials and smart textiles, smart processes as well. We're also using technology to help change the way that they show those collections as well. So London Fashion Week has become a bit of a playground for us, and the opportunity to experiment with things like augmented realities and virtual realities. And then finally, we're using technology to help designers change the way that they sell those collections as well. And if I told you that about 40% of the designers that show at London Fashion Week have an e-commerce platform, it might begin to give you an indication of just how far apart fashion is from technology. Fashion loves to portray itself as an early adopter. Nothing could be further from the truth. So I'm going to whiz through some of the projects that we've done, talk about what we've done in the past, what's happening out there in the industry right now, and where we think it might go. So just very briefly, this was a project that was run out of our Digital Anthropology Lab, which specializes in 3D scanning and 3D printing. We worked with Gareth Pugh, a fairly well-known designer in London, an absolute to 3D print Gareth's designs, partnered with Selfridges, put it on the shelves there for about double the price of a normal bottle of Absolute, and watched it sell out very quickly. But what was great about this for Gareth is that he's continued to use 3D printing throughout his career. So that knowledge transfer for us is really important. Oh, God. I always cringe when I see this image. This dress that we made for Nokia about 3 years ago, Nokia came to us and asked us to make something and do something at London Fashion Week that would be disruptive. So we had a vision of what we could do, and I sketched in the office this flexible dress. And we wanted to laser cut the screens on that dress. When we laser cut them, they just smashed. So what we ended up doing was 3D printing a structure and bolting the phones onto that structure. Wearable technology, 25 kilograms. Wow. We've done a ton of work for Microsoft, so this is using their inductive chargers that we built into a pair of trousers so that when you put your mobile phone into your trousers, it charges. We partnered with Amazon, sold them for a month. They were $900. We sold 2. This was a fun project, again, with Microsoft using their technology, but we wanted to explore what the future of a catwalk show would be. At a time when the industry was talking about live streaming killing catwalk shows. We thought that was stupid, so we would show how you could use live streaming to enhance a catwalk show. So we live streamed from devices, projected it onto that 4-meter inverted pyramid, and then used real-time CGI to kind of rip the models apart as they were going down the catwalk. It looked awesome. Startups, we love working with startups. This is one that we worked with 18 months ago who had developed a flexible battery, so we made a belt, crowdfunded it, raised about $80,000. And then crazy stuff like uniforms that glow to the beat of the music for the W Hotel. And then I love including this one because it allows me to talk about Star Wars. I spent 18 months working on Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which was the best thing I ever did. And life hasn't been the same ever since. But this was a project with a Bristol-based company called Open Bionics, who specialize in 3D printing. So the image that you see there, that model who's wearing that bionic arm, she's an amputee model. She has myoelectric sensors on her shoulder. So when she flexes her shoulder muscles, she has individual finger control over that bionic arm. It is quite the most incredible technology. And the cost of that is about $3,000, so incredibly affordable. And fashion is going to play a big part in prosthetics in the future. But by far and away, our most well-known project is this fiber optic dress that we designed and made with Richard Nicol, a London-based designer in Studio XO, a technology company based in London for Walt Disney. It went down the catwalk a couple of years ago, and 200 million impressions later has become kind of the poster child for wearable technology in fashion. Fiber optic, remember that. So yeah, it generates a ton of press, which means that technology is definitely in fashion, but does that make it fashionable? It's a big question. There are some stats out there which I think are quite interesting. So 1 in 3 people think that wearing wearable technology makes you look ridiculous. And 3/4 of people in Britain, I don't know why this is just Britain, have no idea how wearables will make their lives easier. So that's a couple of problems, form and function. Can the fashion industry play a part in changing how form and function? So I always wondered what was behind those statistics and what was driving this kind of message. So if all of you are sitting carefully, just hold tight. Here we go. Ah! Yeah, it's not enough for technology companies simply to take technology and place it onto the catwalk. That doesn't work. I made a phone dress that was stupid, huh? Look at that! That was about 6 months after we did our Nokia project, and I think the press release read something like this being the pinnacle of the intersection of fashion and tech. Shit. Models can walk down a catwalk. This is from Dolce & Gabbana in February. Take a selfie. Fashion tech. I'm not kidding. This was reported as fashion tech. Shit. So when Apple decided to sponsor the Met Gala, we were really excited. We were intrigued about what might come out and a little bit irritated that they didn't come and talk to us. So anyway, the Met Gala arrived. What did we see? A fiber optic dress. Looks kind of similar to something we did a couple of years ago. It's a lovely dress, but come on, fiber optics, this is old. An LED light-up dress by Marchesa. I guess there was one element of this which was interesting and I think will have implications going forward, is that they used IBM Watson. So machine learning and artificial intelligence is definitely going to play a part in designing in the future. And I think they used it in this case to suggest what materials to use for that dress. So at least one thing of interest. So what's holding everything back? Oh my God, can you imagine? The Zuckerberg Effect is holding back fashion and tech. And why is that? Don't worry, this isn't real. It's because we don't wear the same thing every single day. What a great collab. This should happen. This is awesome. If you've ever tried to embed electronics into clothing, it's incredibly difficult. It's expensive, it's time-consuming. So are we seriously suggesting that this is going to happen for every piece of clothing that we wear? And especially if we want that technology to do different things. I think there's a big question around that. So when Avery Dennison partnered with Everything to announce just 3 or 4 weeks ago that they would be digitizing 10 billion garments within the next 3 years, and this is using RFID technology, things do start to get a little bit more interesting. Because at that point, you can begin to interact with consumers and begin to understand a little bit more about the life cycle of a garment, when it might need to be replacing, where a consumer is, where they go. So I think this, in the short term, is that first step towards us genuinely having some kind of connected clothing. I'm running out of time. So what can the fashion industry do to bridge the gap? We've got to figure out how to make washable and reliable electronics, which is improving, but is not quite there at this stage. We've got to make these products manufacturable. There is no supply chain for wearable technology that exists right now in garments. And we have to make them competitively priced, because if there's no scale, they're going to remain incredibly expensive. So collaboration is the key. We need to keep running projects like we're doing and finding those pathways to market. Beyond collaboration, we need to co-create. So the project that we're running this year of bringing tech companies alongside designers under the same roof is going to be really important. And at some point, and depending on what you want the technology to do, invisibility will be important too. So what's coming next? Well, there's a few things that we're working on, and it may guide where this is going. Conductive yarns. There's a lot of work being done with conductive yarns, and Google's Project Jacquard will launch in the early part of next year, and that's turning a biking jacket into an interface. The ability to control your garments and interact with a wider connected environment is actually really exciting. But high-end fashion is really struggling with that kind of functionality. But needless to say, Google are not the only people working on this, and I think you'll see a lot more work being done with conductive yarns in the next year. Stretchable electronics. And this is where things start to get really quite exciting. Stretchable electronics, and this is a picture that I have from my desk. These electronics can be ironed into clothing, and they're washable. And we can connect them to the internet. This project was done with PCH, a hardware accelerator, and L'Oreal to detect UV raise. But if you can take those circuits and build them into garments and simply iron them in, then we're in a very different place. So watch out for that. Science is going to play a part in the future of fashion and wearable technology as well. So we're partnering with some biotech centres in London to look at where things might go with that, and that's all I can say on that. Robotics. This video is from 1999, Alexander McQueen's show in 99. What a visionary the man was. Robotics both in showcasing, but also in creation of garments. Adidas are already making a ton of product using robots. But can we teach robots how to design? Can we get them to pull data from the internet and begin to teach them how to pattern cut? We're working on that, and we think that we can. Virtual reality, everyone has been speaking about in the past couple of days, and VR is being used in the fashion industry at the moment. In fact, there are a ton of 360-degree videos. And I think fashion can play a part in VR, not just through sticking a camera on a model's head and walking her down the catwalk. That's not so interesting to me. Fashion can help create VR headsets, but beyond that, I think VR as a creation tool within fashion becomes genuinely very exciting. If we can get designers using VR to create, could we create together? Could we have bespoke pieces made with designers? Could we showcase in VR, and could we sell through VR as well? I think we can. AR is arguably going to be playing an even bigger role in that, and I think there'll be some things around September, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But I think the idea of showcasing within augmented reality is really exciting. But if you put VR, AR together, then you begin to create a cinematic experience. And then in retail terms, the idea of challenging what a retail experience could be and might be is really exciting. And again, I only include this because it allows me to talk about Star Wars. When you've experienced the augmented reality holodeck that ILMX Lab have in San Francisco, and you can begin to imagine that within a retail experience, the future for retail might actually be quite exciting, which it isn't right now. It was interesting to listen a little bit about photography, because I think computational photography can have a really big part in campaign imagery in the future. And there is, on the floor here, a 3D scanner, a photogrammetry rig. Using that kind of Hollywood technology, we can begin to challenge what is an image. And I'll finish with this from Louis Vuitton, which traditional luxury don't genuinely get involved in technology that regularly. So I was really surprised when this came out. But this is Louis Vuitton, and this is their take. Just look how good this looks. It's incredible. And I think when we begin to see more brands looking at how technology is used, challenging the norm, we'll end up doing some really exciting things. I think Elon Musk said we might all be living in a video game, and Louis Vuitton partnering with Final Fantasy is the first suggestion of that. So I'll leave it there, but that's me. Hit us up, say hi, and thanks for listening.